Good evening, you're watching This Week, a weekly news review program. I'm your host, Anra Matar. And for top stories we have, number of COVID-19 cases surpassed 100,000 cases during this week. The Presidential Inauguration Ceremony was held for the 6th President of Mongolia, JUKHURELSUKH. Authorities studied the possibility of administering a third dose of the Sinopharm vaccine. And for other news, stay tuned. $11,349 new cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed from 21st through 25th of June, and 4,466 people have recovered and were transferred to home isolation. More than 60,000 people were tested during that period. As of Friday, the total number of cases is now 104,900, of whom 64% have fully recovered. More than 10% of the people who were tested came positive for COVID-19 during this week. Among the 13,296 COVID-19 patients being treated at hospitals nationwide, 65.9% are showing mild symptoms of illness and 239 are in critical condition. Additionally, over 23.5 thousand patients are being treated at home. Unfortunately, 57 people between the ages of 30 to 83 died due to COVID-19 complications, bringing the total number of fatalities to 493. Health officials warned the public to stay alert and follow strict social distancing, as not only the hospitals are filled to capacity, but more importantly, the health sector is facing a workforce shortage to fight against COVID-19, as more and more cases are being confirmed daily. The government of Mongolia held its regular cabinet meeting on Wednesday. During the meeting, it was decided to start vaccinating children over 12 years old against COVID-19. Details from the following report.
Some countries have started vaccinating children between the ages of 12 and 15 with the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Mongolia has conducted some research and received a recommendation from the manufacturer that it is possible to immunize children over 12 years old. Accordingly, the government of Mongolia plans to start the immunization of children aged 12 to 15 on a voluntary basis from next Monday. According to census, there are about 290,000 children aged 12 to 17 years old in Mongolia. Since June 15, more than 13,000 teenagers aged 16 to 17 years old, 1,146 pregnant women, and 919 lactating mothers have received the first doses of COVID-19 vaccine nationwide. The celebration of the 2230th anniversary of the foundation of the first Mongolian statehood, 815th anniversary of the founding of the Great Mongolian Empire, 100th anniversary of the People's Revolution opening and closing ceremonies of the National NAADAM Festival, its main events including wrestling, horse racing, national archery, and ankle-bone shooting game, state honorary concert will be all broadcasted through the TV channels and radio stations without live spectators. Due to the rapid spread of the COVID-19, NAADAM will not be celebrated in the provinces until July 20th. The state and local emergency commissions will decide whether to celebrate the festival after conducting a risk assessment at the venues. Governors of provinces at all levels have been instructed not to hold public events such as horse racing, mountain and Ovo worshipping rituals, or any anniversaries. The Minister of Environment and Tourism, Ortnasan, and the Minister of Road and Transport Development, Hattar, were instructed to develop a joint coordinated plan until 2024 to develop the air transport and tourism sector. In order to increase the number, frequency, and route of tourist flights, comprehensive organizational measures will have to be taken. If necessary, officials were instructed to support low-cost flights to certain destinations, to open new routes, and to issue tourist flight permits earlier.
On June 25th, the Presidential Inauguration Ceremony was held for the 6th President of Mongolia, JUKHURELSUKH. The President-elect swore to the Presidential Oath of Office in the Great Mongol Grand Hall of the State House. A ceremony for the raising of the state flag took place at Sukhwatar Square.
The 8th presidential election was held on June 9th, and Mongolian People's Party candidate JUKHURELSUKH won the majority vote over Democratic Party candidate IRTN and Right Person Electorate candidate INCHPAT, with more than 823,000 votes from over 60% of registered voters. This year's election did not include a traditional candidate debate, as the Right Person Electorate coalition's INCHPAT had announced that he and his wife had tested positive for COVID-19. The swearing-in ceremony was attended by government officials, representatives of foreign diplomatic missions in Mongolia, members of the Mongolian People's Party, representatives of other political parties in Mongolia, former presidents, and other public figures. During the ceremony, the 5th president of Mongolia, BAIGALMAA, handed over the state stamp to the newly elected president. In his inauguration address to the nation, President JUKHURELSUKH noted,
I have been sworn in as the President of Mongolia through our people's trust and choice. This is a great trust and great responsibility granted to me by our people, and I regard this as a call to work fairly for precious state traditions and for the well-being of the people.
Speaker of Parliament Undershatter and the first Mongolian cosmonaut Gurukcha gave speeches to extend their congratulations to the 6th President of Mongolia.
My fellow countrymen, Mongolians, esteemed members of Parliament, esteemed guests, as the newly elected President after receiving the state stamp with honor, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude and would like to bow to the people of Mongolia for giving this great opportunity and responsibility to a person who grew up in an ordinary driver's family. I regard this as a call and responsibility to work for precious state traditions, independence and well-being of the Mongolian people, social justice, human rights and transparency. I would like to wish my two fellow candidates of the presidential election, IRTN and INCHPAT, success in their future endeavors. I also wish the 5th President of Mongolia, BAIGALMAA, success in his future accomplishments. I would like to express my sincere gratitude and respect and to wish health, happiness and all the best. Today the people of Mongolia have various expectations and desires regarding freedom, justice and human rights. We are facing many challenges that need to be addressed. The people's will shall determine the path of our work, and it is my duty to implement this work consistently. I will work to create an independent society where people believe in their future, have dreams and goals, where the society is ruled by law and justice, not by officials.
He noted that the people of Mongolia should become the owners of the country's wealth and that he will implement long-term policy to establish a national wealth fund policy and turn Mongolia into an export manufacturing country.
My fellow countrymen, Mongolians, I shall be a president who listens to the people and creates with them. I do believe that together we shall build a country that has rapid economic growth, a strong global reputation, developed domestic industry and creative citizens. I will fight poverty and work to reduce that growing gap between rich and poor. I will fight for human rights and combat discrimination. I will be a president who respects solidarity and national interest in this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. I will protect freedom and justice and respect our fellow citizens. I will be the president who will promote the economy and the industry and make all efforts to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic.
He added that he will work to expand good neighbor relations with Russia and China and pay the utmost attention to the third neighbor policy. Later, President JUKHURELSUKH paid tribute to the 9 great white banners. The swearing-in ceremony was concluded with the military parade at Surpasses Square. According to new legislation, Mongolia's new president and commander-in-chief of the Mongolian Armed Forces will take office from 2021 through 2027 and won't be able to run for an additional term.
On June 21st, members of the Temporary Committee for Monitoring COVID-19 got acquainted with the activities of the emergency headquarters established to manage outbreak measures. According to Deputy Prime Minister Amar Sakhan, 45 to 48% of the population hasn't been vaccinated yet. The authorities are calling on all citizens to get immunized.
Researchers have found that 3 out of 4 people who are fully vaccinated are protected from COVID-19 infection. Currently, the Ministry of Health is working with scientists from a U.S. university to understand more about the high rate of transmission in Mongolia, despite the high rate of vaccination. A contract to purchase 2.5 million doses of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for children aged 12 to 17 has been signed. The first doses have been delivered. Currently, a team of health experts are studying the possibility of administering a third dose of vaccine. Research is already underway and will soon be finalized and submitted to the National Emergency Commission, and will also be discussed by Cabinet. 1,000 additional beds are being prepared in hospital wards for COVID-19 patients. The number of infections has risen sharply over the past 3 months, and today more than 12,000 patients are being treated at hospitals nationwide. Hospitals are starting to face challenges with a shortage of healthcare workers. Resorts, restaurants, and cafeterias were originally advised to adhere to strict infection control regimes, but normal operations have been restricted for 1 week due to non-compliance with outbreak prevention measures and social distancing rules. The Deputy Prime Minister noted that if the number of infections continues to grow, it may lead to a strict lockdown and curfew.
There are a number of reasons to start inoculating young teens, as a number of COVID-19 infections and deaths among children have occurred so far. Vaccination is regarded as a necessity to protect the young teens from getting infected and to prevent the higher cases among students, which are expected in the upcoming academic year.
In the world, there are about 11 million children that have been infected with COVID-19. Out of them, over 7,000 have died so far. In Mongolia, more than 21,000 children have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Also, several cases of deaths among children have occurred in our country. The way to prevent COVID-19 complications and deaths among children is considered to be vaccination. The immunization for 12 and 15-year-olds was approved yesterday at the National Immunization Committee meeting. Therefore, the implementation of the immunization will start very soon once a resolution is adopted by the Minister of Health. We are working to intensify the campaign, aiming to have teens fully vaccinated sometime ahead of the start of the next academic year so that they are able to gain full immunity.
Herd immunity is gained after 80% of the total population is vaccinated. In our case, we have to vaccinate everyone over the age of 6 in order to gain this level of immunity. In other words, even after teens aged 16 and 17 and pre and young teens aged 12 and 15 have been vaccinated, it will still be a long way until 80% of the total population gets immunized. As of now, 150,000 people have not yet been vaccinated for any legitimate reason. Since the start of the immunization campaign, 59.2% of the total population has received at least 1 dose of a COVID-19 vaccine, and 52.5% have received 2 doses of a vaccine.
There are a number of ways to prevent infectious diseases, such as wearing masks, imposing lockdown, and vaccination. The better we take these measures, the better we will be able to reduce the risk. Even though the advised precautionary measures are simple and doable, in our country these are not properly followed. For example, in shops you can see people not taking distance from other customers. Also, when studying the death caused by COVID-19 in Mongolia, 95% of the people who have died are either ones who never had received a single dose of vaccine or had not been fully vaccinated yet.
The main ways to restrict the spread of infection are to immunize the people, to impose a strict lockdown, or to implement strict social distancing. Health experts say that the immunization campaign is successfully proceeding as expected, so it can be said that the public are failing to take social distancing and limiting social interactions seriously. As herd immunity is nowhere near to be achieved, even when the immunization is going on smoothly, we are facing a situation where we cannot say no to imposing possible lockdowns in the future.
The Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation has been developing a responsible nomadic electronic system since 2017 as part of the Global Green Gold Responsible HIT project. With the new system, the origin of the product will be available to see through QR code. As a result, it is possible to find out where and how the products made from animal raw materials are produced and where the raw materials were prepared by reading the QR code on your mobile phone. For example, the bowl you see here was co-produced by national startups as part of the project. For example, when reading the QR code of a product, it is reported that raw materials were obtained from herders in Dotsum, Hovd province. This standard will be introduced in all SUMs.
It is very difficult to verify whether the product was made in Mongolia in the global market. The reason is that it is difficult to distinguish whether it's made in China's Inner Mongolia or Mongolia. This system is significant because it generates a QR code to verify that it is originated in Mongolia. This means that it's no longer possible to counterfeit products on the global market.
There are provisions in the agricultural law. The law stipulates that the origin of goods traded on agricultural exchanges must meet certain quality standards. So first of all, we will implement this law. Second, Mongolian agriculture has great potential in rural areas. In this way, the project is expected to open up more opportunities to improve raw material quality standards. The process of making all the information available to consumer from the raw materials produced by herders to the final product is progressing one step at a time. Now let's take a look at what happened in sports industry this week. The Asian Football Confederation Cup is an annual continental club football competition organized by the AFC. Tainan City of Chinese Taipei defeated Athletic 2020 FC of Mongolia 3-0 in the opening match of Group J of the 2021 AFC Cup on Wednesday. Athletic 220, the 2020 champions of the Mongolian Football Federation's National Premier League, became the first Mongolian team to reach the AFC Cup group stage of the Asian Football Confederation. Athletic 220, which is in Group J of the AFC Cup, played its first group stage match against Tainan City of Chinese Taipei in Hong Kong on 23rd of June. The club's players traveled to Hong Kong on the 19th of June to play Tainan City on the 23rd, Eastern Long Lions on the 26th and Liman on the 29th. In the opening match, both sides went into the game at Tseung Kwan O Sports Ground in Hong Kong, looking to mark their AFC Cup debuts with a victory, but it was Tainan City who dominated the proceedings from the start, with Athletic 220 sitting deep and looking to hit on the counter. The side from the south of Chinese Taipei thought they had opened the scoring midway through the opening period as Wu Chunqing advanced down the right and passed to Fenelis, who had the goal at his mercy, but his first time finished past a whisker wide of the upright. Tainan City's persistence finally broke the Mongolian defense just after the half-hour mark, following an intricate string of passes that saw Benchi Estama feed Chen Jui-Chie, who kept his composure to apply a right-footed finish from the inside the box. Athletic 220 had a golden chance to bring the game level in the 63rd minute when Ulziot Water supplied a fine through pass to Muhirtan Batruik, who attempted to finish but was blocked by a heroic last-ditch sliding tackle from Chan Wei-Chuan. There was still time for the Chinese Taipei side to thirdly cement a victory. This time it was friendly fire that did the damage, with Chan Wei-Chuan's ball from the right side being deflected by Dulgon Batishik past his own goalkeeper for 3-0. Tainan City take on Hong Kong's Liman FC in 3 days' time, while Athletic 220 will attempt to bounce back when they face Eastern SC in the other Saturday fixture. The decision to organize the National NAADAM Festival without spectators was made by the government of Mongolia. 1,024 wrestlers will compete in this year's NAADAM wrestling competition, which will take place at DANDI-YADAM on July 10th through 12th for 3 days. The government of Mongolia has decided to hold the 2230th anniversary of the total state, the 815th anniversary of the founding of the Great Mongolian State, the 100th anniversary of the People's Revolution, and the National NAADAM without spectators. Following the decision and the direction given by the National NAADAM Wrestling Subcommittee, the decisions are as follows. 1,024 wrestlers will compete in this year's NAADAM wrestling competition, which will take place at DANDI-YADAM on July 10th through 12th for 3 days. Preliminary registration and names of wrestlers to be submitted to the Mongolian National Wrestling Federation by June 20th should be submitted in writing to the Mongolian National Wrestling Federation in accordance with the guidelines given by the National NAADAM Organizing Committee in connection with the COVID analysis of the wrestlers. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it was decided that it would not be possible to organize national wrestling competition for the youth division. Well, that's all for this week. We will see you next week with more news and updates. Have a nice weekend. Goodbye.